Okay, so guys, I'll start with the Python theory, which is the first module. Let me show you the curriculum first. Okay, so we will start with this Python theory. So I'll just show you few things about the installation process, and we can see if we can do some topic coverage from those topics. Okay, so once you guys are clear with the first modules, then writing library become easier. The one script that I wrote yesterday, which had multiple things like dictionary, library, functions. So to understand that, you need to complete with the first few modules. Then only the things with writing the script becomes simpler. So first, let's focus on the first few modules, module 1 to module 8, which is more like theory with exercises. In the next class, I'll keep one pre-assessment. So how I'll tell you the pattern that I'll follow from the next weekend. So next weekend we are having a pre-assessment. So pre-assessment is to see what's your knowledge before joining the batch. So this would be a MCQ question, around 40 question related to Python theory would be asked. We will assess it, we will evaluate it, and we will give you the points that, let's say, student 1 scored 30 out of 50, student 2 20 out of 30. Then we will have a mid assessment, and then we will have a post term assessment. So, and in the post term, I'm also gonna give you some project, because at that time you would be familiar with writing the script. But initial days, this is just gonna be the MCQ format. Okay, so that MCQ I will initiate in the next class, not today. Today, let me cover few basic things so you can go back and do your homework and come bit prepared. But definitely, once you attend the or once you attend those midterm assessment, you would be much more familiar with the things. Okay, it's a pre-assessment, mid-assessment, and post-assessment. Post will have few project as well, where you would do the automation project, and this would be discussed in the class. So let me open my RTP for now. Let's discuss some ground levels of Python. Okay, see, this is a application which is called PyCharm. We can do the small exercises over here. Say, for example, if I take this out, this is the script which we wrote yesterday. Let's say if I'm writing something like x equals to 10, y equals to 20, and if I want to sum them up, take the output of this z, I can run this small program to get the output. See, right? So this is the environment, a virtual environment of Python, where you can kind of write your application or program or script and execute it. So first, let's discuss this software and what you need it, because later on, until you get the lab access, you can still use it. I'll also give you some shortcut tricks. If you know, there are certain online compilers, you can search for Python online compiler and do the basic practice. If you don't want to install it, say for example, in this kind of thing, let's say x equals to 10, y equals to 20, z equals to x plus y, print z, and run this. Sorry, this should be. So you have the output. So if you need shortcut, this is the one. go with any online compiler. You can run these exercises, but for a longer run, this will not help us. When we start with the network automation, then this compiler will not work. Us. We need PyCharm, and we need to be in the same network where we have our Cisco devices, so that my script can execute. Also, once you start writing the script, you will definitely call the libraries like this. But where is the netmiko package? It needs to be locally present, right? So to till some extent in the beginning classes, you can use the online compiler. But after a certain extent, when you start installing the libraries, you need the Cisco automation, Palo Alto automation. You need to have your virtual environment on either your home lab, or, as you know, we would be giving you 6 months of remote lab access, so you can use it. So if you're using the remote lab access, you can also use it. So let me give you basic information what all things you need to install these applications. Okay. So let's say installation. You need Python as programming language. You need Python ID, where you would be writing the code, compiling, debugging, unit test, and you need the end devices. So let's say for now, this is not required until we are doing this basic Python theories. Okay, so I'm keeping it as for now, this is not required, but later on, definitely we need it. So these two things, if you want, you can straight away go and install it on your home lab. You need these two applications. First thing, you download the Python package from the website python.org, and then you download the application PyCharm community. Okay. So let me show these two websites. So when you go to python.org, you get the different versions. I believe most of you are on Windows, but if you are on Mac or Linux or Ubuntu or any other Linux distribution, then you get for everything. So this is for Mac. For Mac, you don't actually need to come to this part. There are, you know, that Mac and Linux have a terminal. You can go to those terminal and hit the command pip install Python, or sudo apt install Python, and you can install them. Especially for the Windows operating system, you can come to this website. You can download the exe file. So let me show you. These are exe files. Say for example, this is a 64-bit package. Nowadays, most of the operating systems are 64. So I'll click on this. You can see it's a exe sort of file. So if I go to download, double click on this, so you can see the exe file. Okay, so this is how you can install, or there is also a simpler installer, 64-bit, which is just a exe direct file thing. So instead of downloading a lot of dependency files, you can just download one simple installer. So when you double click, follow the on screen, and you can get going. So let me, I already have it, so I don't want to damage or disturb my existing Python, but let me just kind of show you what you need to do. So once you double click this application, it's going to ask you, do you want to upgrade custom installation? In your case, it will be a fresh installation. So you will click on the first option. But in my case, it has already sensed that I am having Python 3.10. So I need to upgrade with any new version, or it's a fresh installation? So I will be uh, kind of clicking on the second option. But in your case, that would be first, because it's a fresh installation for you. So once you click that, you get this option, keep it default, click on next. Now it's up to your call where you want to install. Keep it keep it the default, keep it in the C drive. It is not going to take GBs of space. This is very small package, might be 100, 200, 300 MB maximum. And there's nothing other than that you want to enable, then you can click on the install. So once you do that, once the installation is done, you can go to the Windows operating system and you can just validate if that is available or not. You can go to C drive, uh, program files, and it should be located here under the Python package. Like usually go and install in a different package. If you see here, the minute when you double clicked on it, it is having a different path. It's not program files. It is going inside this app data local program. So these app data are usually a hidden folders. So you can click on view, hidden items. Then you can go to this PC, C drive, uh, users, Sagar app data, local, and search for programs, and Python. See, for me, this is the path. And you guys also, if you do a default installation, it's gonna go and sit here. This is just a validation I did. You don't need to come to this extent. Once the installation is done, you can go to simple run and type Python. So when you do that, you will get the Python idle. See, like this way. You can click on that. Now this is a Python idle. The native, the original idle of Python backend. Idle is nothing but a backend for a Python compiler. So this, now you're on that. So you can type x equals to 10, y equals to 20, z equals to x plus y, print z, enter. You have the output. But the problem with this native IDE or idle is there is very less options for auto pop-up or error detection. It's very plain black and white kind of console prompt for us. So we cannot do major things over here. We can use it just for some basic testing, and that's all. But this is not very user friendly interface. So I will keep it aside and I will make use of any professional tools. I can go with PyCharm. PyCharm has two versions, the community version and professional version. Professional is a paid one, so don't download that. After using 1 week, it will start annoying you by asking for the payment and all those things, right? So you can download the community version. The community version is almost as same as the professional. And all the features of correct the error corrections or auto pop-up or lot of things you can do from this itself. So this is the one which you need to download, the community version. Once again, you have various operating systems supported. If you are a Mac OS user, you can use from the Mac OS. If you are a Linux user, you can download the respective thing. For Linux and Mac, you can also do it from the pip command. You can go with pip install PyCharm community channel, and that particular version you can download and install in one single click. If it's a Windows user, then this is the exe file which you need to. Again, it's just 100 to 300 MB of file. Download it, install it in the C drive. Okay. So if you want, I'll click on download first. Then it starts downloading. It's around 400 MB. I would recommend not to use 2023 because this is having lot of flash introduced into this, which is making indexing of packages very slow process. It's having some indexing properties, etc., which is very slow. So we have a 2022 version of PyCharm. When you get the access to our Google Drive, etc., we have kept one stable version. So that stable version you can download, or you can look for 2023, 2022 version also. If you look for PyCharm community for 2022 version download, you can find some GitHub link and you can download it. They are much faster in terms of operating this PyCharm application. I'm just saying that 2022 version is much stable and faster, whereas 2023, which is the latest one, it will take some time for those backend indexing, library indexing, etc., bit slower. So better go with the one which we have in our Google Drive. So now what have we done? We have downloaded Python package from this website. We have downloaded the community version. To install the community version, I'll go to this folder. I'll double click. This is a exe file. So as I'm recommending, go with the 2022 file. That is much faster and much stable. So right now I'm doing this process, download PyCharm community. So we have downloaded. Now we are in the process. Yes. Okay, so now it asks me for on-screen process. It says that I'm already having a PyCharm. So this is the stable version 2022.3.3. So it will first ask you to uninstall that and install a new program, right? That is in my case. For you, this will not be asked because you would be doing a fresh installation. You can select next, and if there is any chance, you can change the directory, etc., and then install it. Okay. So once you install that, go back to the run, Windows run, and look for PyCharm. Open it up. This is how the application would look like. You need to do some checks because on the very first run of the program or the application, Python would not have been recognized. How do you confirm whether Python is recognized or not? So when you open up this tool, this application, which is called PyCharm, okay, just a minute. Okay, let me use this annotation. So see this as an application, it's a PyCharm application, correct? So you need to make sure PyCharm is recognizing your foundation programming language, which is Python. So where do you check? So you have to check over here if you see Python is detected or not. If you see this at the bottom, Python, whichever version that you have installed is recognized, that means you're good to go. You can do a simple such exercises or print hello world and make sure that things are good. Otherwise, to set this virtual environment, you can click on file, you can click on new project. So at the time of new project, you can select the new environment. So you can click on the virtual environment. See, Python will use virtual environment. Sorry, Srinivas, you're unmuted. Muted. Do you have any question? Okay. So remember
No, no.
Python. Okay. So Python will use a virtual environment. So that is represented with virtual environment or VNV. VNV also stands for virtual environment. So we need to create a virtual environment on our local machine. Other things could be for other programming language, Java, C, C++, Golang, whatever different program. But for Python, we use virtual environment or VNV. So you will see this Python VNV or Python virtual environment in most of the scenario. So we are setting up a environment. So I can select virtual environment and then I need to select the Python interpreter. So where did I install my package? I'll click here on these dots. Then I'll go to the respective users, etc., etc. We know the path, right? It was under the user application data, right? So it had some path that was followed up. So this is the path, app data. So to use the hidden files, you can click on this option here, which will give you all the hidden files. So app data, local programs, app data, local. Okay, where's local here? Yeah, local, then Python package, local programs, Python, Python 3.10 folder, and this is the .exe file. So this is how you need to define your virtual environment. This is your project. This is going to be the project which is going to create a workspace for you where you will start writing new scripts. So create a project you can name. You can call it as any project, network journey training, network journey exercises, network journey automation training, anything. It's just a name for the project where you would be henceforth preparing your script. You will select a virtual environment and you will select your Python installation. If someone has installed in a D drive, E drive, or whatever it is, so you have to select that by there was one option like three dots, and then I went to this. I selected view hidden files from here, and then I just put down this. Okay, so this is a basic things which you do on the very first time. In case if there was already the let's say once you've done this for the second time you're creating a project for your production, then you can select the second option. That time you can select this, and from here you can select the interpreter. You can say add local interpreter. You can select the existing one, or if you want you can select the new virtual environment. So that's your choice. If you want to say, for example, you want to keep a virtual environment for Python separately, and you want to keep a different virtual environment for PyATS testing or for a different project, or could be anything. Okay, so at that time you can create different virtual environment. But to get started, you need to have one virtual environment in the beginning. Once you do that, the project get created up, and you will see at the bottom where Python 3.10 has been determined, or it's been detected. After that, what you can do is you can go to file, click on new Python file, just name it Python theory.py. Py is the Python file extension, and this is your workspace. Okay. Now you can do whatever exercises that you want to do. X equals to 10, y equals to 20, z equals to x plus y, print z. And how do we execute these small programs? You can right click. Once you right click on that file, there is option to run, and that's gonna give you the same output that you got over in this native Python idle. But I would not recommend this because this is not user friendly. This is okay if you're executing or testing one small block and then bringing it to a more professional tools, but go with this kind of tools. Okay. So this is what is about installation process to get started with Python and Python IDE. End device are not required, at least for at least for 3-4 classes in the beginning. Later on, we need a end device. In case if you don't want the setup, you're more excited to get started, then you can use any online Python interpreter as well. So that was what I was showing you here. So you can use this as well, because this is also gonna give you the same outcomes. So you can just copy whatever you did here and paste it here and run it. So you get the same outcome. So for initial exercises, it's your choice. You can go with either this or you can go with this. But for a long run, you need to have this. So I would recommend go with this itself, because later on it will help you to integrate with the end device as well. So clear till here, clear with this installation part.
Sagar, end device, what and all device we will get?
So in the lab, we have these Cisco iOS XE, Palo Alto. Then we have FTD, FortiGate, F5. These are few devices which you will get in the which you get in our remote access. And apart from this, we would be also leveraging on the Devnet sandbox labs, where we have SD-WAN, ACI, and some of these devices we can take it from the DevNet labs.
That means we will do this lab also, right? SD-WAN and all.
Yeah, that will come while we are taking up the DevNet syllabus.
Okay.
Yes, sir. Regarding this end device setup, it's not possible to install in home lab setup, right? Is that possible?
You can install this. That is what I said. Once you get the Google form, you can select on the home lab setup. We have the complete package which we will deploy in your machine. But for that, yeah, you need to have minimum 16 GB RAM on your laptop.
Got it. Thank you.
Otherwise, it will not run. And rest you can take this from the online sandbox itself. So clear, right? So what are we kind of installing for now? It's very few things that we need here. There are no complex software or application, very lightweight application that we need here to get started.
Sagar, we can use both, right? Either home lab as well as one which you are providing.
Sorry, I didn't get your question. Come again.
We can use both of them, right? Like I can set up the home lab so that I can use it after the training as well, but the one which you are providing, we can use it for 6 months.
Yes, I think there will be that option, but if there is no option, you can just let one of backend know what you need both of them. Okay.
Okay. Thank
Yeah.
you.
Okay. So next, what we are going to look at is give me 1 second.
Hey, are you speaking? I don't hear any
Yeah,
audio.
1 second. Yeah, 1 second. Let me connect to my writing pad. Okay, so now what we are going to look at is we would be looking at the Python theory part. So under theory part, we will start with the basic things like print, what is comment, then strings. Before strings, we will do variables, then numbers, then those arrays of data, right? List, dictionary, set, tuples. Then we will see some things about the package installers, then the ops concept, then tuple, let's say conditions, iterations. So under conditions, we have if-else statement, and under iterations, we have a for loop iteration. Also, we have while loop iteration. While loop internally has two different types, infinite while loop and finite while loop. Then we will see some things over on rejects theory, date time. Okay, so these are few things which we will cover in the initial classes. Once you are good with this, Then we get into the library discussion. So I'll consider NetMiko as the first library, and then we will start automating our end devices. Cisco, Palo Alto, any other vendors that we think about, we will start automating them. So first you need to have grip on the theory part. So let me use this tool to demonstrate the Python theory. So if you see, I would write something like print parenthesis and the data. Okay, what is the pattern? I did put some name. So here print is called as name of the function, and these brackets, the half open and close, is called parenthesis, and hello world is the data. Okay, any information or anything that you want inside this to be printed. But what is happening? It's basically you're instructing your computer to read the data which is present inside print function. So when you run this uh, program, right click and run, you will see in the output the data being read out by the machine. So you're sending it to the interpreter programming language. It is going to reveal you the data that is coming to you. If you keep without the print function, something like hello world, then nothing comes to you. Say for example, if you put this way and then run this, you don't get any output in the output screen. It's blank because you have not instructed your script or your machine to read or give you some output. So to get that output, we have this function called print. So wherever you see the print, basically the computer is going to read that message for you. It could be, you can use print multiple times. You are doing some operation and at the end you want to see if the things went good or not. You can put a print statement. So basically print is like, if you want to make sure things are good, or if there is any issue, then it will give you an error. So basically print is to print the message on the screen, and this is the output terminal. If you see, I'm just kind of resizing this window size. So this is where the output comes. And the main Windows workspace is where you write this program. This is a program. And on the left hand side, you will eventually see a lot of files. As you proceed writing more and more number of scripts, you will see this keeps on increasing. And on the top, you have this navigational bars. You can also later on see how can we integrate PyCharm with online GitHub using the Git operations. So whatever files you have, you can push it to the online centralized repository and they go automatically to the online cloud. So there is a process. We will see this in the Cisco Devnet syllabus. So apart from that, rest of the tools you don't normally use. There are few options which you can enable. When you go to file settings, in the initial few classes, we don't need library, but once we start with the Cisco automation, we will come to the interpreter, click on the plus symbol, and we download all the packages like NetMiko, Nornier, PyCharm, whatever we want, we can search over here. This is like a marketplace. It's these all free of cost. You don't have to pay. You know that Python marketplace is open source, right? So these have been contributed by some developers, mainframe developers. So we can search, we can install, and then we can start writing those programs. So that is later on after 3-4 classes. I'm just showing you the basic settings that you can change. Then you can also have this feature of holding control button of your keyboard, and when you move those wheels of your mouse, the text get zoom in and zoom out. So do you see I'm kind of increasing the font size and I'm decreasing the font size. So this will help you later on to read and write the program. The same you can do with the output screen. When you hold the control button of your keyboard and just scroll down, scroll up, scroll down, you can see the font increasing and decreasing. So to do that, you can go to file, you can go to settings, you can click on the appearance and behavior. Yeah, you can click on the editor, general, and within the general, there is an option which says that change font size with control plus mouse wheel. So you can select it. Usually these are not being enabled. Okay. So you can just put this. So this is one of the settings which we do. Apart from that, you want to have any UI changes, the graphics changes, you want a light theme, you want a dark theme, you can come back to the appearance, you can go to appearance, you can select the UI from here. You want a light feeling or environment, you can go with this. There's one more here, which is bit darker side. You can also go with the very high contrast. You can go with this. You want to keep the center one and you want to kind of keep with sync with OS. Anything what you want, you can do it from the appearance section. Increase the font size, increase the font family, or change the font family. These are few what you say cosmetic things which you can do it. Let me keep that dark screen because those fonts looks highlighted. Here I am not very much uh, I don't feel this lightweight to be very interesting. Okay. So this is what I feel is better, the default one. And I use this control and wheel most of the time because, while I show this in the class, you guys can view the things properly. So I keep it bit zoomed those font sizes. Okay. All right. So print hello world. Print is a function. Those brackets are called parentheses. I put down here. Hello world is the data here. So you can change the data. You can say that this is new batch for automation and then ask your screen to read the message for you. This is new batch for automation. So this is really helpful if you want to see something on the screen. You can just think in this way. This is the back end and this is the front end where you get that message which you can read it and you don't know what is being put up in the backend. Correct? If I put something like this, would you know what is in the backend? And how would you see the front end? What is being printed or what is the message? So you can think or you can visualize from that way that there is a message which is being printed. If you go to any uh, hypermarket or any general stores, if you see such some LED things over there, panels over there, it usually gives some message, welcome to this. Those are actually fed in the backend and those gets in a loop and you see the front end and you don't know in the backend how is that being uh, typed or coded or basically in the backend there will be this kind of small program which would be running in a loop and in the front end you have that display which would be giving the message kind of thing. Okay. So print is useful for many times, especially when we write the script as well. We will see things getting executed or not. So it will help us to, find out the root cause or errors as well. So this is print. Let me move on to something called comments now. You see I have put this hash symbol. These are basically to gray out or to ignore this lines getting executed. Now, if I run the script, you will see that none of the lines are executable because I have made them as a comment. Okay, I've made them as just to get ignored. The minute I remove something, I can, so 1 second. See, for example, I remove from the first line and then run. Basically, the first line get executed. And since it's a good line, it gave me good output. It said that this is so and so. But what happens by mistakenly if you keep something else not properly commented, your script will think that's a part of the code. And if you not put proper indentation, proper closing, starting of this or the inverted comma, then you get an error. So why we use commenters? Let's say you're testing out a block, but that block is giving you some problem. You can comment it for a meanwhile and kind of fix something else, come back, you can uncomment them and keep going. That is one purpose. You don't want them to kind of do a control cut and keep it in your clipboard. Later on, when you copy something, you have to kind of refine those few lines or etc. etc. So the best practice is when you start writing like 30 lines of program, 40 lines of program. If a block of 4 lines are giving you problem, you can comment it for a time being, run the script, fix some issues, and then come back and uncomment and kind of work on those 4 lines. So it's like you're totally asking your script execution to ignore those 4 lines. That is one important task or benefit of commenting. Second thing is, let's say you want to keep some labels. Let's say you are writing some lines of code here. Let's say this is line 1, then you are writing line 2. So basically, what are this lines supposed to do? If you want to make an interactive script, you can just mention that below lines are for connecting two devices. So this will help any junior engineer, or if you're passing on the script to another team, they know what exactly the codes are written for. So this is for device connection. Might be then you can put down a comment for device credentials, and then define what is the username, password, IP address. Then you can put more messages that you are going to learn the BGP status. Then you can define the lines of code here. So it's kind of labels also. You can treat it them as a labels, or in case if you're writing a lengthy program and you want to kind of facing some problem and you want to put them for a time being into a non-executable format, then just gray this out. Okay. Now you can gray them out either by typing manually, because these comments they are significant on basis of lines. Okay. In some programming language, you have a privilege of going with this option where you can define the start, and then you can end after a couple of lines, something like this. So if you know this CSS style sheet, etc., you can put multiple lines as a comment by just start and end. Same goes with our Cisco banners, etc. If I go with some delimiter, let's say I go with this character to represent as a start, then I can put down all that banners on Cisco, like this is his authorized Cisco box, please do not log in, etc., etc. Then I can end with another delimiter. So basically, this whole thing gets considered as a label or a message. But in Python, it's line by line significant. So there is nothing that you can start with this and end with this. If you want to make comment, then you need to put this over here at the beginning of this particular line. Now, this is only significance to this line. For like next line, once again, you keep that. That is how it works. When you have number of lines, when you have 10 lines, it's difficult for you to go to each line and comment them. So at that time, you can select those bunch of lines, go to code, and there is an option called comment with line comment. So what happens, all the 10 line can get uncommented, or if you want to comment all the 10 lines in a single click, you can comment it. there is an option to also, there's a shortcut. If you press control and that backward slash, you can comment and uncomment. Say for example, control and backward slash will make me uncommented, and I can put back in a commented. So this is going to be very useful down the line when you write a big script of 30-40 lines. You need to kind of put 10 lines in a comment section. So this shortcut control backward slash is going to be helpful. Okay. So what are comments? When you want to put a label, you can go with this, or when you want to kind of ask script to not execute this 4 to 10 lines, you want just them to keep on the script but not to get executed, you can put them in a grayed out fashion. Okay, so after comment, let's go to the important fundamentals here, variable. So do you guys know what is variable? Because this is generic word. Most of programming language like C, C++, Java make use of the same term variables. So what do you mean by variables?
Anything which we can assign a value to it. Doesn't have its own value, but we can assign it.
Yes, you can assign the value, you can the data, and this will be later transmitted between source and destination. Say for example, what I mean is, let's say you have an empty container. You are supposed to put some data into this. Okay, let's say you want to put data admin. This is your data. Now, what do you want to call this container? Let's say you want to call this container as username. Now, this is variable, and this is the data which is stored in the variable. Okay, so variables are represented by this equal operator or this symbol. So wherever you see x equals to 10, so basically this is what a variable which is storing the data type number of value 10. If I keep like username equals to admin, so basically this is the name of the variable which is username, and I have assigned the data of type string value admin to this. So this later will be transmitted. So that means, let's say you're writing or you're calling the variable inside your script. But eventually where that needs to go, that needs to communicate to the end devices, right? So this is your Cisco box. So these variables, whatever you're storing, it will later on be helpful in transmitting and taking back the data, which comes to you, and you can read it on the output screen using the print function. We can also print a variable. Let me show you what does that mean. How do you print a variable? Let's say you have a variable username, and it is having the data called admin. If I want that variable to be printed, I can make use of this command, which will print me the message or the data stored within that variable. See, so when I'm printing that variable, I don't get it as username. Remember, variables are just an empty container which are containing some data. So I'm actually printing the data which is present in the variable. So this is the data. On the right hand side, you have data, and on the left hand side, you have the name of the variable. You can keep any number of variable. You can keep username, and then you can say Tim. If you want to print this, you can call it as username 1. Also remember, variables are dynamic in nature. That means, let's assume I take out this. I have two variables with me. Okay. I am keeping the same names for them. Now, what would this print me. I'm telling this is dynamic in nature. So in this case, what happens? I have 10, 11, and 12 line numbers. So what would be my message that would print here?
Tim,
Yes. Why it is going to print Tim?
because later you assigned a new value to the variable username.
Yes. So variables are dynamic in nature, not static. Okay. I am storing something inside this, but in the next line, something else come and get stored. So what happens? This will have a new data with it. So if I run the script, you will see the new value which is stored. Okay. So that is you need to understand now what are data types. Then also that is also something which once you know you will understand. See here, these are strings. These are string. That means single data only. Either this variable can have this or this, not both, because they are string in nature. String in the nature in the sense only one data, either this. But also variable has a dynamic nature. So, and I'm running the print which is closer to line 11. So whatever value it had previously get erased up and get stored with the new data. That is why the new output is Tim, not admin. But if you keep print closer to this one, then you get this data as admin getting printed. Okay. So that is the nature of string. Username is just a variable which is storing the data, which will help you to transmit it later on the stage. They are dynamic in nature. If you need both the data, then you convert into collections. You can use a list and then you can store inside a variable. So variable can also be a list, multiple data. Okay, we will come to that. But first, let's see variables. Let me give you some examples for variables. Now, let's say if you wanted to store port number of your Cisco device, so you can assign this. Now, the name of this variable is port, and you're assigning the data type as number, value 22 to that. Now, if you want to store password, so you need some variable for that. You will say, let's say you want to define Cisco at rate 123. This is a variable called so and so. They can be alphanumeric combination. Say, for example, you can go and define this way, the same thing. It's acceptable. But if you give it this way, now this is violation. Numbers you can't use at the beginning of any variables, but definitely you can use numbers at the end of the variables. Also, you can use these underscore. You can go with this. This is allowed. But apart from that, all these special characters, they are not allowed. So let's say if you want to put percentage symbol, now these are violations. See, these tools will give you instantly if there is a violation. If you hover on them, it will give you the error as well. Statement seems to have no effect because that's an error. This also will give you an error. Redeclare password without usage. So basically, you're having issue. Also, there is one small button. If you check on this portion, it will give you a very quick indication of any errors that is spotted. If you double click on that, it will show at the bottom for the problems. See, end of statement expected so and so. There is an error here, line number 16. Line number 18, there is some error. So you see those in red, that is error. If you have error, the script will not run. It will give you an error. You need to fix that. These are warnings which you can ignore. That is depending upon your script sometimes. So redirected username without usage. So that's just an error. You're not calling it to any other operation. That's why it's saying that either you're reusing the same variable. So these are the yellowish ones are just for your information. You can exclude. But the red ones are something. If you don't fix them, your script will not get executed. It will break or terminate as soon as they spot this error. And you know that the scripts follow top to bottom vertical order. They go with line by line. Now, in this case, these are all commented, so no actions. The minute it reaches to line 10, it will start executing. It will trigger this, then trigger this, then trigger this. When it reaches to line 16, it will throw an error and your script will run out, or your script will terminate without going with line 17 and rest of the lines. So you need to fix the error so that the script can go till the last line. Remember that if you have a script of 30 line, but if there is an error spotted at line 5, the script will stop instantly. It will not go further down the lines. Okay. So they followed the top to bottom vertical fashion, like your Cisco ACLs, access control list. They also follow top to bottom order. If you find a match in the line 5, then they don't go to the rest of the lines, right? So something of that sort. Here they go line by line till the end of the 5. But if an error spotted, then they stop and they give you some error. Let's say if I run the script now, the minute it reach line 16, we have an error. See, we got an error. If I want to fix this, either I need to fix that or I can just put a comment here. The minute I put a comment, they get ignored by the Python and they don't get kind of considered. So now the error would be spotted on line 18. See, now it's on line 18. So you need to read the error. The minute script goes out or terminates, first thing that you need to do is check the output. So this is the output terminal. Try to read the error on which line you're facing this error. If it clearly says on line 8 there is some problem with this way of representing the variables, you fix them or you put them commented and then re-trigger the script. So once you re-trigger the script, if the things are good, you get the code 0. Code 0 in programming world is success, right? Every success messages differs. Say for example, when you do the HTTP operation, if you get status code 200, let's say if you already aware of this, that means it's a green signal. That means things went smooth and it's okay. Similar way in the programming, especially in the Python case, if you get the code 0, that means it's all good with the script. So on. If you run any Cisco CLI command, if you get the output for it, that means it's a good indication. But if you get something like invalid command or undefined command, basically those are considered as error. So you fix them and you re-trigger it, right? So these are few ways to indicate the error. Here in the programming world, code 0 is good thing. If you get code -1, you get errors, then that means there is some problem with the script. You need to fix that. Okay. So let me put down the variables, what is allowed, what is not allowed in a text format. So you can easily, in the upcoming classes, then you don't need to do a mistake at least on this. Let me open my writing pad. So Python variables, you need to know they can start or they must start with a letter only, no numbers, or underscore is allowed. So underscore is represented with this. Okay, let me remove those annotation. Okay, with this symbols. Okay, underscore. This is not underscore. This is called @ Underscore is this kind of thing. It's not hyphen also. Hyphens are like this. Let's say you can call this as hyphen, but I'm talking about this underscore. They are case sensitive. That means, let's say on a script, you define something like this, all in lowercase. But later on down the line, if you're calling the same variable, but you are making use of capital, you get an error at this spot. It will say undefined username. The reason is variable are case sensitive. You need to use the same lowercase over here. Okay, if you do that mistake, then you get an error. So they are case sensitive. Apart from that, you can have alphanumeric. So I can say that alphanumeric allow. Let me give an example. Let's say username 123. This is good. Okay. You can also add user 123 like this. This is also good. You can keep at the center as well. But you cannot start with numbers. That's violation. That is not allowed. And also the special characters are not allowed. All these at the rate, percentage, the hash symbol, hyphens, these exclamation mark, all these not allowed. Okay, so this is thumb rules. You can remember this, or once you start working out, then you will definitely also have this easily memorized. Okay. So what are variables? Variables are containers to store the data, or values which can be transmitted between source to destination. And I've given you the thumb rules, what can be done, what should not be done. I've given you the examples. How are they written? How are they called? Let me say x equals to 1, 2, 3. If I print this, so what is my output?
One, two, three.
Check correctly.
X.
It will print X.
It's a string.
So let's run. I'm printing X. Why I'm printing X?
Because you called X as a string, but when you're calling a function, if you have to call without double quotation.
Yeah. So see, inside a print function, you can either call variable or you can directly call the data. Okay. I told you variables are without inverted comma. So you should have called without inverted comma. The minute you put the inverted comma, the print will think you have directly called a data only. Okay. So there is a huge difference between writing this way, or let me put this way, x equals to 1, 2, 3, print x. Okay, there is a huge difference between this and this. In this example, you did declare a variable, that's good, but you're not calling variable now. You're directly inserted a data within that print function and you want to print X. But in the second example, you're actually calling that variable to be printed. So whatever value is present, that will get printed. So if I take a run of this, you will see the first print, line number 22, gave me X because of that inverted comma. The direct data gets executed. Whereas in the line 25, the value of X, because this is a variable, you called a variable now, and the variable is getting executed. Okay. So let me give you one more example. Let's say username, or let's say this way. Let's say A equals to 123. Print that variable. Let's say print B. Now what will happen? Now see, I'm calling a variable here. So what is it? I'm calling a variable or I'm calling a data now?
Calling a variable.
Yes,
but
I'm calling a variable, but what will happen in this?
It's not defined anywhere in a statement.
You won't get any output.
Yes,
because
it will not get us an output because I'm calling a variable, but that variable is not present in this particular file. Also remember, these are kind of standalone files. Okay, they are standalone scripts, so they need to be defined at the top if you are calling that variable. It doesn't matter. See, if you might have 100 different files kept aside, so they are not going to consider B from something else. They can do, but for that you need to call that file. You, let's say you have a package, so you want to call the B value from there, then you can make use of that from method, call the package, then you can define if something was present in a different file. If you're not doing that, then they are locally significant. If you're calling something called B, then where is B? Do you have B somewhere in the script? You don't have it, right? So as of now, this is going to give us an error, undefined variable error. See, undefined. So make sure when you're calling a variable, they are also being defined. Then only you call it. If you keep B at the end of this, that is also not going to help because they follow top to bottom order. The first line to be get executed is 29, not 30. So what happens as soon as it reaches here, it will just look for the first 1 to 28 lines. They don't see any B and they will give you an error. So no point keeping at 30 because this get executed first. 29 get executed. So it will check from 1 to 28 for B. It's not going to check for rest of the lines after 29 because it depends where you called it. When you called it, you called it 29 number. So 1 to 28 is checked. So remember, this should come at the top wherever you're calling a print function. Now you can run the print will give you the value for it. Admin. Okay. So these are some basic things which you need to know. The calling of any variable is okay, but that variable should be pre-handed defined. It can be defined anyway. You can also keep it anywhere at the top. Might be on the first line, you can keep it. That is fine. The print and the variable don't need to be just put next to next. You can just call it. They just need to be somewhere between 1 to whatever that print function is located. 1 to 29 in this case. See, we have the value. But they cannot be after that because they follow line by line order. The minute it reaches 30, it will look for B. It don't have any B so far. That's all. It gives you an error. It's not going to wait for 31, 32 or any other lines for it. So let me keep it over here. I'll just do string and numbers for today. The list, I'll do it in the fresh class. Or let me not do strings or number. Let me show you some other things for now. Let's say input function. Okay, now let me tell you what does this input function do. So far, we just went with a dynamic or static type of variables where you declare the data in the script itself. But there are certain times when you don't want to declare the data inside the script. Might be compliance, might be security issues, etc. So especially for this type of thing. You would think, why should we keep the password revealed to the complete audience? Right? You might think my compliance says I cannot put the password in a plain text that's totally visible to the public. So in such cases, what you can do is you can prompt the user to put them. So how do we go is I can go with the input function and I can put a label here, enter the password. Now, when I execute the script, it would be prompted at line 33, enter the password. When I type that, let's say password, only at that time, the whatever value I put, it will go and get stored in the password. If you want to just take the print of that to make sure if it's getting stored or not, you're just adding a print function to that. So let's say the first user has a password Cisco at the rate 123. The next user has password like Junos 123. So you can see the variable is now temporarily holding the data per user base. Okay, so the same script is run by 10 different users. The value or the data for the variable password also keep changing. So first user might be typing Cisco 1 at the rate 123. The value get changed. The next execution user has a different password. The password will be stored here. The third user has something else. You want to store that. It will change. It keeps changing. So that's the use case of input. Not just for password, you can think from this way also. Let's say you want to make an interactive script where you want the users to type some command and you get the output for it. So instead of password, let's say fetch output. This is the name of the variable. And instead of this label, you can put enter the Cisco CLI of your choice. Because not everyone wants show IP into brief. Someone would need show version or someone would need show run. But you get that label printed here. Enter the Cisco CLI of your choice. Let's say the first user is typing show version. He get the output for it. Now someone parallelly is running the same script. He get this prompt. Might be he's looking for the output for show IP arc and he have this output. Similar way, the other person is looking for the BGP neighbor. So show IP BGP summary, enter, and he have the output for that. So input is basically where you can prompt the users on a real time. And once you put that particular thing, and if that matches, you get executed. Or if you put a wrong command, let's say if I do a typo here, instead of show version, might be I put some wrong characters. Definitely Cisco would not recognize that. You get an error thrown up saying that invalid CLI command form. Simple. Okay. But it's a way where you are being prompted. So basically this input method is to collect the data from the user in the real time execution. So any doubt with the input function of Python? Okay, I'll show you one last thing, which is called open function. This is also something which we use it for multiple reasons. Now, let's say you have Notepad to be read. You have Excel with lot of device inventory, which you want to read it. Let's say you are taking a backup to a text format. You are taking a backup. You need something which can open the files, or you can create the file, or you, if there is a file, you can read those files, right? So open can do multiple things. It can either read an existing file or create a file from a scratch. You don't need, see, it's not feasible. If someone say take the 100 device backup, I go to a folder. I say this is a output folder and create 100 text files pre-handed. That this first text file is for going to be 1.1 device. The second one is 2.2.2.2. This is not practical feasible, right? That I create something beforehand, then I run the script and then it go and sit in this file. I want a method which can automatically create these files at the set path. Correct? That is what we need to achieve. That can be done using open method. So what I will do is I will say create, or let's say first I want to read something. Okay. So read from Notepad. So this is just a variable, because once I have some data within the variable, I can take a print of it. Simple. But how would I read? Using open method. I need to define the complete path. Let's say this is the path. I'll copy and I'll paste it over here this way. This is the complete path. Now I need to define my open function, whether it's a read-only file. Okay, I have to also put the file name. Let's say if this is the file name, one dot so and so. So I'll keep the file name here. See, now there is one error. Do you see this orange symbol? This is kind of, this happens when my system path is overlapping with the inbuilt Python function or Python behavior. Might be this has a different meaning in Python. Similar way, there is chances if I have something in my system path like this. There is chances my system path overlaps with Python behavior. So to get rid of that, I can add raw, R-A-W, but I don't have to add the complete 3 characters. I can just put R there. So what it does, avoid treating this as any overlapping Python functionality. Instead, just treat this as a system path. Now I can keep any things, they get just avoided. Okay. Now this is a system path only, because I'm saying that to be treated as system path. If I take that out, this might get overlapped with some of the Python behavior, and then it's no more system path, it's something else, and your files would not be read. You get some error. So you add R, or you add this / all the way to kind of escape the illegal characters or any violation. So this is one method. But if you think that is too much to add / all the time, then put this simple R in the beginning. That's all. It will handle it. And after a small comma at the end, you need to define whether this file is already present or you want to create it, you want to append it. So that's called open operations. So you can define R in the sense read only. If it is R, then you don't need to actually, because by default it's R. So most of the time we don't define if it is scenario like read. Only for write, that is to create, I can use it, or to append. Append is like to create and put the data at the bottom when you run it multiple times. So for W and A, we use it. For R, it's a rate scenario that someone use it, because by default, open has R as a method. So I can keep this, or if you want, I can keep this way. Now this R is different. This R is different. This is to avoid any overlapping with the Python behavior. Whereas this is the open method to say that this file is read only. I'm reading the file, or the file is already present. This R will never create any new file. To create a new file, you need to go with W or you need to go with A. So I'll show you what is difference between W and A. First, let me finish off this R, which is read only. And in the next line, you can just mention read content. What content you want to read? Basically, this is your variable. You can put the read operation. You're basically reading that. And in case if you want to also print it on your screen, then put this over here. Okay. Right now, those files are empty. Okay, let me see the device directly. See the error. It says that no such file 1.1.1.text is found at that particular directory. Okay. So there is chances there are certain extensions sometimes. So make sure the extension is enabled and this is the file. Yeah, we have changed our directory, right? So the directory, I'll take it and keep it. I made some changes while I was showing you some examples. Let me put this and then let me trigger. See, now it is a empty file. So you see a blank message. But if you go back and let's say there was already some data within that, you had 1.1.1. You said this is Cisco iOS device, and you want to read that particular file. You can use this. See, the message is printed. Or let's say within this file you had multiple other devices, 1.1.1, 2.2.2, 3.3.3, 4.4.4, and now you want to read those devices. You get that output here. So this is the way we can read from a file and using the open method. I can also read from Excel, but for Excel, I need a Python library which supports Excel. So along with open method plus Python library which supports Excel reading, I can read from Excel. So I'll show you that while I'm making use of Excel reading and Excel file creation, regex, etc. I'll show you how this open along with Python libraries that supports Excel, you can read from Excel. But for the text or notepad, it's very simple. You can just put open, put the path, define that file name. If it is just read only, this is just optional. You can take it out or you can keep it. Then you're using the read. See, now this read function is where the characters are read. Okay. The first line is just to define where the file is. The actual reading is happening here on the next line. And then you are printing this particular thing. So this is for read. Let me show you for write.
Sagar, if we don't use dot read means then it won't read, right?
It will not read it from there. Okay, this is where the actual read is happening.
Okay.
Okay, now let's say to write. Write in the sense to create a new file and store some data. So I'll say create new blank file. This is the name of my variable. I'll go with the open method. I can use the same path. Okay, same path I'm using, but let me keep a different name. Let's say create. So basically I'm creating this file. Let me not put create because then you will think since I put this, that is how it's created. Let's say I will put this as device. So I want to create this file. Now this is where the creation happened. I put W or I put A. So the meaning of W and A is to create a file if the file is not present. Okay, that is W. And it will overwrite. If you run multiple times, the new data will overwrite the previous content. But with appending, it will create the file and the new data keeps appending on the same text files. So the behavior is a bit different. So let me put W to create a new file and overwrite if there is a new data coming to this. So where is the data that you want to put within this that you define in the next line? Let's say define data equals to, this is where you created something, dot write function, and you can put a message here. This is automation batch. Now remember, once you create any file, they have to be closed by yourself. So to close that, you can use that variable and put close to this. Okay, when you create a file, when you open a file, see you created a file, you put that message. Basically, the file is open now. You need to close that thing. So now if you run this, you can see the file will get created, a new file with device 123. Open it up. You will see the message. This is automation. So this method we will use for creating our device backup. I might have 100 devices. I will first run the command show run, show IP protocol, show ARP, etc., etc. And using this 3 lines, I will kind of do some linking, some for loop, iteration, etc., etc. And then I'll create a new file in the fly. I don't need to create something beforehand. The things will come automatically and keep creating them. Say, for example, I'll show one example. I have multiple devices where I'm keeping the devices in this suite 1.1.1, 2.2.2, 3.3.3, let's say 4.4.4. Now I'll integrate this with a for loop single device in my list multi-device. This goes within the for loop. This is within the for loop. This is within the for loop. I want to create the device names as I proceed. So let's put single device here, single device, and I want to add the extension .txt to that. And I want to print the device IP itself to that. A small basic thing which I've done as of now. I'll delete all those things which I created manually. Mhm. Okay, actually, what is happening? This is treating everything. This is dot text. Okay, let's run this. Let's see if it throws an error or we get something done. And detected at line 44. So this one. Okay, let's say device underscore. Okay, see, actually what happens, I was ending with a folder. So I have to define some device name, then I can associate that device name with the device IP dot text, and then I'm entering the data within those multiple files. Now you see the magic with this few 4 lines. You will see those files keep on coming. Let's assume this is a backup. And when you open them, you have the content respective to them. So the first device will have its information. The second device will have its own information. The third one will have the third device information. And finally, the fourth device is going to have the fourth device information. This all happens dynamically using this for loop concept. So when I put this logic in the script, which is to collect log messages or backup, you will see this type of files keep on getting created for all 100 devices, and you will have the information kept respective files within the respective files. Okay, so this is just a simple exercise which I have shown you. Now we will wrap up. So to give you some assignment, what you guys need to do is set up your environment, either home lab or if you want to use this compiler, totally up to you, and practice whatever we did in the class. Okay, so this thing I'll put in the chat window. You can take it from the chat window, put it in a keep it somewhere in a notepad, and after the class till we meet in the next class, you can kind of set up your environment, practice something. Okay, and I'm going to keep some pre-assessment to see where you stand beginning of the class, and then when I take a midterm assessment, I'll evaluate where you have reached. So any question before we wrap up?
Sagar, instead of giving .txt, can we go for doc format, WordPad? Yeah, single device.
Word format you cannot go with without having any dependent library.
Okay.
Only text or log, log log, or anything which you can open in Notepad, you can go with this method. But if you want anything like doc, .xlx, PDF, anything, you need to bring one additional library which supports it. Then you can integrate with the open. Even then you need open, but you need one dependent library in that case. So you have to add this import. You have to call the library. Let's say if you have Python PDF library, then it will have its own functionality, which along with that functionality, you can open and create them. Only for Notepad, it is the simplest method.
Okay, got it. Yeah, this class also will be uploaded in YouTube, right?
Yeah, this will be put up in the YouTube, and gradually this too also will be put up in your centralized portal, which you will have the access. Okay.
Yes, thank you.
So let me tell you the process now. Next 1 or 2 days, you will receive some Google form in the common group of WhatsApp. Those who have enrolled to this, fill it up. You will have all the options to select. Once that's been received, my backend will start rolling out some mail called welcome kit mail that will have the access to the web portal, lab access. In case you wanted home lab, then they will give you the home lab download files. Download those files, keep it ready, then you can send another mail over on that same mail saying that you're ready and you want to take this up. Okay, you want to set the home lab.
Okay, sir.
Okay, so there is a contact details. You please reach out to the backend for the enrollment process. Those who have not enrolled. All right, guys. Thank you for attending the session. Let's connect
Thank
in
you, sir.
weekend with the regular classes, and that is going to be locked session. It's no more open to public. Only those who have enrolled will receive. So thank you, everyone. Take care. Enjoy your weekdays ahead.
Yeah, thanks, Sagar. Yeah, bye.
Thank you, Sagar.